Good morning, Interpeas. Welcome to this morning's coffee brew. I hope you had a pleasant week. Well, we got two. Well. I did my first week off from work for the summer. Ooh, there you go. My son has he's got a week and 2 days of school left. Good morning, Kitty Q. Welcome to morning's coffee brew. But this upcoming week, they only have instruction 2 days. They have an assembly. Then they have the day is called moving up. Moving up. So those who are going to the next grade, whatever, they get to go meet the new teacher that they're going to have next year. And then Friday they're going to the farmers market. So my kids got out last week. I think the last day of real day of school is Tuesday. Was that the ninth here? Sprinkled Donut. Good morning. Good morning and welcome to this morning's coffee brew. Well, I hope you enjoy your summer vacation, Inner Peas. And Kitty Q, enjoy your children at home with you. Me and my son don't have anything really planned until the end of June, and then in July. In July, he's going to a convention in Seattle. Um, and now I'm probably mixing these letters up, but I think it's called BDFI. They're basically different comic book characters, not like people, but they're animals. And there's like pencil, there's a racer, there's fire, but they're different plushies. But they actually have a comic, thing. But he's going to a convention for that. His mom and his grandmother are taking him. Well, we're moving on up. The Jeffersons, huh? My kids and husband are going to Florida for 2 weeks on the 8th, and my dad is coming to visit on the 8th for 2 weeks. Well, that's cool. Get to hang out with dear dad. That must be fun. Yeah, but so in the end of June though, he's going to see his extended family in northern Idaho, where we have property. He's going up there, and then he'll be back. But then again, the convention in July. Don't really have anything else really planned for him. He has summer school. It's like not summer school; it's summer program, but that doesn't start until I think the second week of July. It's only like 4 weeks, 4 weeks long, but it's a program that is put on through the ARC of our city and state, and it's meant for children who have barriers to learning. So it's kind of like camp, but it's day camp. They go every day. They don't stay overnight. They do everything from art. They do swimming. They teach them. They learn how to swim if they don't know how to swim. They don't go in a really deep pool, anyways. It's only about, I don't know, 12 inches deep, if that. It's kind of a kiddie pool, but it's an actual below ground pool. Your brother is in Idaho. Star? Is that your brother's name or the location? I'm not familiar with any place in Idaho called Star. Our property is in Rathdrum, um, Idaho. It's up in the upper panhandle of Idaho. We inherited it from my wife's grandparents. They have, see, there's 8 houses, and one's got commercial property built on it as well. And then someone either inherited the house and someone inherited the property, or you inherited empty property, or but it got all subdivided. Well, not subdivided, but divided out amongst all the family. It's a blast. My dad's my best friend. We play darts, cook good food, and hang out. That's cool. And drink beer. Star, Idaho. His girlfriend is an Eagle. Oh, well, I think I know where Eagle is. Interpeace. At least I've seen the signs for it. I'm pretty sure Eagle is there. There's like an Eagle Rock. There's Eagle Ledge. Eagle Ledge is a small community up by um, Lake Coeur d'Alene area. It's just outside the reservation up there. Eagle Ledge. I'm not 100% sure where Eagle may be, but I'm sure. I mean, there's a lot of things like that. There's even a Vulture, Idaho. Vulture, Idaho. Population 2 people near Boise, so it's down in the main part of the state. Boise's really, really, really pretty. If where we have our property up there. I mean, I only get up there twice a year. My wife and my mother-in-law were just up there last week, but I don't get a chance to get up there that much. It's nice, quiet area, very heavily forested. Like there's a lot of trees that haven't been clear cut. I mean, there's a lot of forest there where we have our property. You can't do much with it unless you're going to cut the trees down, and we don't want to. But if I was going to move someplace, Boise is a real pretty, area to live in. If you're in outdoor activities, Boise is definitely the place to be. So everything is in and around the Boise area. That's where Chad's getting the axe. Oh, good old Chad Daybell. Was anybody surprised that he was found guilty at all? I actually was reading some of the comments online, and people were absolutely shocked. They didn't think that the state actually proved because of the GPS data. My God, and they thought that was a smoking gun that proved that Chad wasn't there, but Alex was there. And but of course they skip over that little tiny part where Chad his phone didn't ping at the property, but he could have had his phone there and just had it turned off. Of course they skip over that part. They only saw Chad wasn't there because his phone didn't ping off the tower. But Alex's did. He could have had his phone turned off. But Kitty Q, you weren't surprised by it? Neither was I. I think that both Lori and Chad should both be put in an expedited line for the lethal injection. But of course, we got to do Lori's trial down in Arizona next, which I don't understand at all. I mean, I understand that they want justice for Charles, but I mean, let's just say that they convict her of it. There's no possibility for the death penalty in the state of Arizona for the charges that she has, unless they can prove extenuating circumstances in Arizona, and they're not even the DA is not even seeking the death penalty. Maybe because they can't prove the extenuating circumstances, like actual cash that went from her to Alex, or some kind of transaction there that proves that he was a hired gun. But if Alex was around, Alex would have gotten the needle in Idaho and in Arizona. Lindsay Blake had all the facts. You must forgive me, Inner Peas. Um, Lindsay Blake is that a YouTube creator? And if so, it does. What is her channel called? I don't know a lot of creators by their names. I know the channel names, like difficult research, difficult, her channel, but I don't know what her actual name is. That she's actually related to Lori, or Chad. Well, actually, I guess technically both, right? But again, I don't know a lot of creators by first and last names. I might know them by their first names, like my friend Scotty. He has a YouTube channel, but I know his last name, but I everybody knows Scotty by either first name or they know the channel name. She represents the state prosecution. Oh, okay. My bad. Hadn't been following enough to know the name of the prosecutors. I mean, I know the defendant's attorney. I know who that is. I've actually seen him in person. We were there before Chad's trial. Well, long before before Lori's conviction, we actually ran into him. He was in I guess you could call it like a diner, truck stop. He was with another attorney, but we got this. We met. Well, we got to say hello. Didn't get to meet him. Like, hey, I'm Will, and meet him that way. But we got to say hello as we walked by. I didn't want to bother them because they're obviously they were eating. I get a lot of people, even today. I get people who do that to me. Me and my wife went out to dinner last night, and someone I know, and I get it. It's like, wow, a YouTuber, somebody here who, and they, interrupted, our dinner to say hello. I mean, I get it. I get that, the fascination of people wanting to meet, me or others. But, at the same time, it's like, you could have waited until after we were done eating. I've actually met, a couple other YouTube creators. One guy does all he does is YouTube shorts, but he does like food reviews. I met him. He's kind of a strange, fellow. He's a full-time real estate agent, but he also does YouTube, like food reviews, 60 seconds or less videos on reviews of national chains, and their food. And I met another lady who is kind of, she doesn't really do true crime, but she has dabbled in it a little. More like the history of this area where I live. And she's covered a couple of cases that are in this area. She actually reached out to me through YouTube, and that's how I met her in person. Had a cup of coffee with her at Starbucks. She wanted to know where she could get the document for an individual who used to live here, who was later convicted of being a serial killer, who used to be a former law enforcement. And no, it's not anybody you guys would know of. His real last name is Mendez, but he went by two different last names, even as an officer, back in the 60s, 70s. But isn't related to the Mendez that you guys would know. But it was kind of cool. I mean, I'm always willing to help people if they want to know where they can get the documents, instead of just stealing the content from me. Oh, now there's just 4 of us. I don't have any content today because I can't. I have mistakenly locked myself out of Google again. I can't get into my email or to the cloud server. And maybe it's just me. Maybe you guys can, this will make some sense to you guys as well. I've been told that you need to change your passwords every so often, so that they're not easily, in case somebody is to hack you, they can't get into your accounts and blah blah blah. Especially for people like me who are content creators. I need to change my password. I keep on I change them, and I mean to write them down, but I don't. And then when I go to log in again, and I always click the remember me for 30 days or whatever. I always do that. But then on the 31st day, I can't log in. Then I go put the password in, and I'm like, crap, what did I change it to? And Google only gives you so many chances, and then you have to go to your backup channel or your backup email to log in to restore your password for the other account. But what if you change the password for the other account and you can't remember it as well? Maybe it's just me, and I'm having more of these senior moments, as I call them. But I locked myself out for 24 hours. Good morning, Mike. Just wait for me to tell you the facts. LOL. I mean, heck, I even forgot to email you this week, Kitty Q, about the trivia subject. I forgot to email everyone. Then I realized, oh crap! When I did send it, I didn't complete the email. It's been one of those weeks. I'm human. Allah Akbar, Mike. God is good. Allah is good. Oh my God, that's me. I always forget what I changed it to and forget to write them down. Yeah. And then and my daughter is always like on me, like, hey, don't write them down. What if somebody finds that piece of paper? And I'm like, I don't know. I guess they have all my passwords then. Because I used to use one password for everything, for my bank account, for everything, YouTube. Because every time I turn this thing off, it logs me out. At least I can always remember what the password is for logging into YouTube. Because otherwise, they wouldn't get anything from me. I watched a shockingly guilty verdict of both Chad and Donald, right? Well, I was not surprised by the verdict, Mike, for Chad Daybell at all. We had his attorneys. I'll give him. Well, his attorney had an uphill battle trying to convince a jury or anyone that he was out, burning brush and the remains of a raccoon on his farm, and it turned out that Ty Lee was in that tiny pile, and he was less than 5 feet from JJ. How do you even try to mitigate that? Donald, yeah, yeah, they may have convicted him of that, but I'm going to leave it there. But I want to make sure that everyone knows. I don't think that it was a politically motivated, in nature. A lot of people want it to be politically motivated, but I don't think that his conviction was politically motivated at all. And if it was anybody else who did the same damn thing, I would hope that they would be convicted as well. So that's as far as I'm going about Donald. Good morning, Gemma. Gemma. Good morning, Mel. Welcome to this morning's Coffee Brew, and good morning and welcome to Coffee Brew as well to you, Gemma. Poor Ty Lee and JJ died. A horrible death, so incredibly heartbreaking. It is. It is. You know, it amazes me what what humans will do to each other, and especially those who are vulnerable, and who are in situations, elderly and children. What people will do to them, and just how little resources and what we will actually do to protect them. I know that's kind of cryptic, but I have read some of the most disgusting and deplorable things that people have done to children and seniors, vulnerable seniors who can't defend themselves. And then when it gets into the public, you know, um, people, their attorneys or whoever have tried to do a spin on it all to make to mitigate the actual damages that and what they've actually are guilty of. Lori should have gotten the DP, in my opinion, death penalty. Yeah, but that'd be hard to even if they went after her for the death penalty, sprinkled donut, because of her known mental health issues um, in the state of Idaho, she would probably get that struck down on appeals. So yeah, I mean, and obviously she even the state couldn't really determine. Three out of the four doctors at the state hospital where she was sent agreed that she was having some type of mental health crisis at that point. But I mean, if you could she have faked the entire thing and therefore mitigated the possibility of getting the death penalty? Very, very much could have. Sebastian case will go unsolved. I hope not. I hope not, Mike. I hope they're able to solve the case. I mean, there's a lot of cases out there though, that have gone to the wayside, have dropped out of the media attention because there's no new developments in it. I mean, look at the case of Summer Wells. Will we ever find out what happened to Summer Wells? How about Monkey? Whatever happened to Monkey? And the circumstances behind that. There's a lot of unanswered questions on both of those. I mean, for going back to Summer Wells, Don Wells certainly did not help the investigation. The mother, she's a real piece of work, and I can't believe that anybody would ever do the things that either one of those two parents would do. But then again, hey, I've met personally people who have children who have done far worse, in neglectful, manner and in intentionally done things to harm their children, even worse. Will these things ever be answered? Will we ever get real justice for either of them? Probably not. I mean, look back. Look at how many mistakes you can actually line them up on a piece of paper. How many mistakes that happened in the John Benet Ramsey case? We can all point fingers at who we think was the actual perpetrator in that case, who actually did the crime. But how many mistakes happened along the way from the day that law enforcement showed up to start the investigation all the way up to about 2 years afterwards? There were so many fatal mistakes that were made in that case. Even if they had a confession to the entire thing, it'd be almost impossible to convince a jury at this point for the John Benet Ramsey case. Monkey may be solved in your opinion? I hope so. As I was getting some coffee, I heard like cruelty being on this planet is more mean. Harmony Montgomery. Yeah, well, Adam is in prison, right where he freaking belongs. But see that it brings me to a greater point of these cases, we can cover them all. I can cover them all day long, and you, the viewer, can watch them all day long on YouTube. But are we really, once it falls out of the popular opinion, in press coverage and national media and local news, pass it on as yesterday's news. I mean, what happens to these cases? They get lost. They get shoved to the back, and people stop paying attention to them because another case comes along. And but even if you're investigating or you're still, covering the case, for Harmony Montgomery, that's a great example. It dropped out of popular, view. People stopped watching. Well, as the creator or the news channel of making content about, Harmony Montgomery, if you're making that content and it's yesterday's news, people are not going to want to tune in if they don't watch it and view it and support it in some way. Then why make it? Move on like the rest of the world does. It's sad. Gannon, Gannon, is that the kid who was murdered in what, Arizona or Utah or wherever by his neighbor? Uh, and all the missing. Gannon stopped. Yeah, I mean that's the thing is I cover some of these cases that maybe they were in the news a year ago or 6 months ago, um, and people don't want to listen to it. They don't want to see it. They want me to, hey, why aren't you covering the Chad Daybell or Lori Vallow, trial in Arizona? Kevin here. Well, good morning, Kevin. Hi, everyone. This is Kevin. Colorado. No step. His step monster. Colorado. Oh, okay. So, see, details that escape me sometimes, Kitty Q, on which cases are which. It's like, researching, serial killers for so long. I mean, I have to go back through my notes just to see which one was it? Was it Robert Yates that killed that victim in Spokane, or was it Gary Ridgway? Which one was it that killed that victim? And tomorrow, trivia night is on Robert Yates, who, if you look at the overlap of the times of Robert Yates and Gary Ridgway, I mean, there's a lot of west side of the state, east side of the state, traveling in between these different areas. They've and dates and times they overlapped each other in a lot of ways. And I have, going back through doing putting the trivia together, I was like, oh shit, is that Robert Yates, or was that Ridgway? Gannon was killed by his stepmom, Letitia. Yes, Mike, thank you. Took me a minute to figure out. Gabriel Fernandez back in the day was, couldn't watch the documentary. Albert Fish was one of the worst ever. Now I'll give you that, Mike. But it kind of surprises me though. At the same time, speaking of Albert Fish, a lot of people consider Albert Fish a serial killer, and that he also is a lot of the true crime community out there. I'm talking about not the YouTube channel, but on Web Sleuths, the actual site itself. A lot of people think that Albert was a sociopath, and I'm not 100% sold on that. That he qualifies as a sociopath, psychopath. I can see him checking all the boxes for that, but Albert writing a letter and telling the mother how her how tasty their child was, yeah, that's pretty fucking cruel. Sorry for my language, but Biden said Trump is responsible for all. Yeah, I'm not getting into that. Sorry, Mike. Letitia sees messages in her peanut. she's a wackadoodle. One second here. If I can't. No. One second. Damn thing shifted on me again, and I didn't even touch it this time. All the comments are running off forever, like for an infinity. So if you put a comment like sprinkled donuts there about Gabriel Fernandez back in the day was, and that's as far as it says, the rest of it is one giant run-on sentence that I can't read. It's not there. There we go. We'll put it in a smaller window. That way I can actually see it. Mike says, yeah, I read Mike's unsolved murders. A few shells short of a peanut. There's some pretty sick, twisted, individuals out there. People who are serial killers that never made national news. Like the Ted Bundys of the world. I got a list of like 20, 25 different serial killers that I would love to do trivia night on, and I probably will eventually. Work them in here or there, but they're not the most popular. Maybe they weren't sensationalized, but they make the Ted Bundys of the world look like children, like rookies, at the game. Some of these serial killers have 25, 35, victims that they know factually that they actually killed. They may have a body count similar to what Bundy's is in the 30s, or maybe they have body counts is even more. But to do a trivia night on them, how's anybody going to know what the hell what to look up? I've never heard of that person. A lot of people don't know about Dean Coral. Yeah, but they all know Gacy. That is absolutely true, Kitty Coo. Done trivia on Dean, the Candyman, and I probably got 10 or 15 people in the comment section after it watched it and rewind. Who's this guy? Never heard of him. But everybody knows about the Gacy's. Don't forget about Pee Wee Gaskin here in South Carolina. Pee Wee Gaskin. No joke, Kevin. But I won't forget about Pee Wee Gaskin, but who drove around with a hearse in a hearse, the actual car, and he had a bumper sticker that said that he buries people, or something like that. So he had some weird bumper sticker. But there is actually a church, a group church. All right, they call themselves a religion because they want federal protection as an actual religion that worship Pee Wee Gaskin. I'm not joking. I don't know if they're in the Carolinas or where they're actually headquartered out of, but they are listed as an actual religious church and a nonprofit. They worship Pee Wee Gaskin, and they believe that Pee Wee is going to be reincarnated. I wish I was joking about that, but I'm not. There's a guy in South America that killed more than 400 kids. That was, um, oh, I can picture him. I want to say Juan Hernandez, but but I know who you're talking about. Yes, and he only did like 10 or 15 years in prison total, and then they released him, and then he mysteriously disappeared. Oh no, more loonies. Only human being can be that selfish and stupid. Wondering if anyone worships Pee Wee Herman. They might. Paul Rubin, was actually a pretty funny stand-up comic before he ever came up with the Pee Wee Herman, I don't know, you call it skit. It started off as the alter ego that he did in stand-up comedy of that kind of nerdy individual. That was something he thought up by himself. But he was actually a very popular stand-up comic. You know, so he spanked it in an adult movie theater. Was that really all that? Compared to all the other people in Hollywood who have done much more horrific things that people allow and still let that person have a career. I mean, how many times did Mel Gibson get absolutely loaded off his ass and call his ex-wife and scream anti Jewish things at her or in a voice recording or at a police officer, but yet we let Mel Gibson have a career. Why? I mean, that's it's his rants about anti-Semitic content. And then you have like Kramer, from Seinfeld, who screamed at a bunch of hecklers from from the balcony. Yeah, and he did go off the rail there and scream out some racist comments towards African Americans. But I mean, how long is that gonna be his career ender? And yet we have the Harvey Weinsteins, who had a casting couch, who did all those things to women for so many years, but we allowed it to happen. And then when people knew about it, we just kind of let it, keep on going. Good morning, Juicy Jules. Yes, Paul Rubin is passed. Yeah, I'm back. Had a phone call. Oh, okay. Became a very successful character, Pee Wee Herman, and Pee Wee's Playhouse. And don't forget, Pee Wee Herman also did the commercials for Nancy Reagan's, war on drugs. Pee Wee Herman asked Paul Rubin asked Pee Wee Herman, the character, cooking an egg. This is your brain on drugs. And then holding up the vial of crack. This is crack. Well, thank you for the super chat, Gemma. Love you, Will, and thank you for supporting. Awesome. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. We love you too, Gemma. Smoke them if you got them, ladies and gentlemen. Will, what's your idea of Sebastian Rogers' case? To tell you the truth, Juicy Jules, I haven't been following it. I've seen it come across, here and there, and read a couple things about the case, but I haven't been following it. I've been deep down a rabbit hole that you guys would not believe for the last like 3 weeks. I have been researching one topic and one thing only. And the reason why it's taken so long, in the research and everything for just one video that'll probably be only like 10 minutes long, if that, is trying to answer the question of what are the last 6 months of a death row inmate's life like? And I've had to contact every single state and read up on every single rule for death penalty inmates after their appeals have all run out and they know when their actual execution date is. Every single state treats death row inmates differently. Some don't give a rat's ass about the constitutional rights of the individual afterwards. Like, unfortunately, I'm not bashing on, but the state of Texas, you've been condemned to die. Well, you're going to die, and we're not going to make your life any, better between now and then. But I've gone down that rabbit hole and I've been investigating and researching that for at least 3 weeks now, if not longer. But I have not kept up with the Sebastian Rogers case. Sorry, Juicy Jules. There's so much YouTube drama over the Sebastian case. Well, it's coming. It's coming, Kitty Coo. I've gotten it. I've got to the point where I've done and I've contacted all the different states that actively use the death penalty and the federal government, because when Trump was in office, he did reinstate the federal death penalty. So they actively have been using the federal death penalty, but trying to find an answer, to the what happens in the last 6 months or after the last appeal has been exhausted, and how many states actually allow the governor to give a reprieve for the death, the inmate who has been sentenced to death. It's not like in the movies, I'll tell you that much. Did you see a Morphew case was injected with powerful animal tranquilizers? Hubby, a hunter, he should be in prison, not a mama Casa, Indiana. All right, let me read that again, Juicy Jules. Did you see the Morphew case? She was injected with a powerful animal tranquilizer. I know that they found supposedly an animal, a tranquilizer dart, the plastic cover that goes over the tip of that, at the house. And I know that they said that they found in her remains that there were animal tranquilizers that were found in the actual remains itself. And you need to understand that what was found of Suzanne and her remains, it's not 100% accurate on what they did find on her remains. If she was actually given a high powerful tranquilizer and sedative, yes, the state said that they tested the remains and they found that, but there are other ways that contamination or those results could have been come up, been determined. They could have tested it, and there could have been other things there on the ground that would give a false positive for those things there at the where her remains were found. Is it conclusive, in that? No, it's not. I mean, so her remain, she could have been given a tranquilizer dart, by Barry. I'm not saying he's not guilty. I think he's guilty as hell. I mean, I think he should be locked up, but they won't be able to use a lot of this stuff because it was in the first case, and that's double jeopardy, and easily explained away what they can bring in the Barry Morphew case. If they brought in this evidence, so like, okay, we found all this stuff, and this all proves that he's guilty, and they bring that into evidence, the defense would be like, oh, didn't you have that in the first case, and then it was excluded because you had to drop the case? And the judge would have to rule then, on each piece of evidence, if it can be even be told to the jury. And so, even if they charged him again, we'd have a litany of motions that'd be filed by the defense for trying to prosecute him for the case again, and they'd have to be able to, it'd have a much harder um, level, and proving guilt against Barry. So I mean, I'm a hunter. I don't have tranquilizer darts. I'm in fact, I don't know of any hunter who has tranquilizer darts. And where and why would Barry Morphew have tranquilizer darts? That's a good question in itself, because you can't just go down to your local veterinarian clinic and they sell you 4 or 5 tranquilizer darts so you can trank your wife and kill her and then dump her in the desert someplace. You can't buy them at a animal feed store, at least not that I know of. Maybe there's some feed store out there where you can get tranquilizer darts so you can tranquilize your horse or your cow. I don't know, but none that I know of. You hope they get old Barry. Strange though that Watts and Letitia both were moved out of Colorado. Yeah, a little bit. Oh shit. Am I still here? Is this still live? The whole damn thing just went. Tooth pulp is protected by the enamel. Whatever Suzanne might have been given should be present in the tooth pulp. To a point, Mel. You're right. I see you. Okay, kitty coo. It was just weird. The whole thing just went black. The whole stream. But when it comes to the pulp that is found in a tooth, that you can extract DNA from, yeah, it's good to a certain point, but it's not going to give you 100%. But you have to also remember she was on some powerful medications already. Suzanne was. Did those show up in the tooth pulp? For her medical treatments that she was receiving. Yes, you're still there. That was just weird. The whole thing just went black. Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Computer. Please, if I've not been very well, just received diagnosis of social anxiety disorder. I'm sorry, Gemma. I wouldn't be surprised, Gemma, if my son, he definitely, has. I don't know if he definitely has social anxiety disorder, but he definitely has barriers to wanting to be in social situations. My feed has been glitchy too, Will. Oh, I'm sorry. I've never seen that before though. I mean, I could still see me, but all the comments and everything else went black, all of it. And then I was like, "What the hell?" And then it's I got a message to the top that said restored, and I'm like, "Okay, your daughter has that, Juicy Jules. I'm sorry." Yeah, but when back to Barry Morphew and the remains of Suzanne, I mean, I really do hope that they are able to either prosecute him for what he did. If not, don't know where it's gonna go. It might be just be one of those cases that just stays closed, open forever. But I think Barry knows what happened to Suzanne. If he didn't do it, did he pay someone else to do it? I mean, that's all speculation, though. But he's Barry freaking Mountain Lion Morphew. He's always going to be that. Bone marrow. Her chemotherapy should show up in her bone marrow. Yeah, if this was the same kind of dosages that my wife had. And that is painful as hell watching someone deal with the extraction of bone marrow. My wife had to do that when she was going through after her chemo. Suffer from anxiety disorder. But though, at the same time, though, today it must be a little bit easier to survive, and flourish if you have a social anxiety disorder. You could probably get a whole lot of services and everything else delivered to you. You can do teletherapy on your phone or a tablet. I'm not saying that you necessarily need these things. I'm just saying it's a lot easier than it used to be. Looking at always to help myself, and at least I've got answers down. Well, that's good, Gemma. But at least when it comes to Chad and Lori, we know that they're both they've both been convicted for what they've what parts they took, and the deaths of JJ, Ty Lee, Tammy. Lori is going to get convicted in Arizona for what she did, and her part for in the murder of Charles. But let's not forget, about Joseph at the same time. They may not have pulled the trigger and shot and killed him, but they killed him all the same by keeping Ty Lee away from him. That slowly killed the man. Well, it's all right, Gemma. There is no topic. We can talk about anything and everything. It's not off topic, and it's not anything you need to be sorry about. I'm happy you're here sharing your life with us. How Charles case took so long to figure out is crazy to me. Kitty Q, what I don't understand about the Charles, the when Alex Cox, shot and killed him, there is immediately when they picked up Charles's body and put him in the, to put him in the body bag and then on the gurney to wheel him out, the bullet hole underneath his back should have been immediately, a red flag. You shot him because he was coming at you with a baseball bat, and he hit you in the head with a baseball bat. So you shot him in self-defense. That's Alex's story. Why did you stand over him and shoot him again once the threat was, over with? You shot him in the chest, and then you stood over him and shot him again. That should have been the first thing that the law enforcement should have investigated, because it was a through and through shot, and the bullet was lodged in the floor underneath Charles. That's two shots. I mean, he has no in the state of Arizona. Alex had no right. Well, not no right. Alex had no need to retreat from the actual threat. Once he was supposedly hit with the aluminum baseball bat to the head, and trust me, with Charles being a softball player, if he really wanted to hurt Alex with an aluminum baseball bat, he would have hurt him real bad. And Alex would never have denied, medical attention that day or going to the hospital. And, there's also a statement from law enforcement who said they didn't see anything except for a small scrape on the top of his head. But, anyways, if Charles really wanted to hurt him, he would have hurt him with that baseball bat. But, and then if you did just a tiny bit of investigation into it after that, the first call that Alex made wasn't to 911 to report what had just taken place in the house. His first call was to Lori. First call. That was a simple thing. All you had to do was just look at the phone. You didn't have to wait for cell tower data. Just look at last number, the recent history on the phone. The first person he called after shooting and killing Charles was to Lori. Then 911. Oh, he would have split his freaking skull open. Charles wasn't a wimpy man. He worked hard his entire life, and he was built. He wasn't stacked like a shithouse, as they say. Sorry for my language, but he was a muscular man. He could take care of himself, in a situation like that. And with the animosity the two of them had, why Charles walked into that house is beyond me. Alex had to tell him something to get him in that house because they didn't like each other at all. And that entire thing just screams setup. And don't forget, Lori and Alex and her friends, they had a barbecue later on that night. After Charles was killed in the house, they had a barbecue in a house, by the way, that was mainly empty. There was almost no furnishings in the place. It's kind of reminded me of, especially the chest cam video of the officers walking around from room to room. It reminded me of like a flop house or a place that people rent and they don't want anybody. We'll move in just enough stuff to say that we're here, but we're not here. That were there enough beds in the place? One for JJ, Ty Lee, Lori, and Alex, because Alex, his defense would have rested on the fact that that was his home, that he was staying there, and he was a temporary resident of the home. Because otherwise, he couldn't have used any type of force, the deadly force particularly, to stop Charles. But the police fumbled that one right off the bat. And not too long afterwards, Lori books on to Idaho, and we know what happened after that. He told the police she was acting strange and wanted Ed to kill. Yeah. But you're right, Kitty Q. It took an awfully long time to get to this point for the state of Arizona. And to just laymen out here who, are just watching, and reading about it. Why did the state of Arizona take as long as they did? Did they feel like they didn't have, an ironclad case against Lori versus the state of Idaho? I mean, all they could possibly, if they were able to prove the extenuating circumstances in the state of Arizona, is they could probably get her for life in prison, unless they can prove an actual payment or murder for hire plot with Alex. If they can prove that part, then they could have gone after her in Arizona for the death penalty. But the state of Idaho, they have the death penalty. But they didn't go after that because of her mental health. So the state of Arizona would have been in the same boat. So they probably wouldn't have sought the death penalty in Arizona either, even if they were able to prove a murder for hire plot between her and Alex. Charles was a college athlete and still in great shape. Alex would have had a tiny mark on the back of his head. His head would have been rolling on the floor. And that's true, Mel. Yeah. But didn't know that. Well, cops aren't smart on the block. They basically took the story that Alex fed them when they showed up. They took that story as the truth. If we go back even farther, and we go to the assault that Alex committed on Joseph, and Alex's known plot to wanting to kill Joseph, knock him out, shove him in the trunk of his car, and take him out to the desert and kill him. That was a known plot and a known series of things that are actual testimony, in the restraining order, between Joseph and Alex. Now, on that assault, because he was pled down, if they wouldn't have pled him down on the assault on Joseph, that would have barred Alex from being able to possess a gun in the first place. Later on, when he would use the gun to kill Charles, that never would have happened. Or if it would have still happened, it would have been a lot harder for Alex to get his hands on a handgun to be able to buy the gun and the ammo and kill Charles. Yeah, maybe Lori could have bought it, but then we would have absolute proof that it was a murder for hire or somewhere along that lines that she provided the actual weapon to kill Charles. But Alex, it did it again. I have no idea why it's doing this. But anyway, so back to what I was saying. But he got pled down on that assault. And they should have went after him then, because he talked openly about wanting to kill, Joseph, and taking him out to the desert and murdering him and burying him in a shallow grave. That was well known. Authorities found more than 40 weapons to his name. Lori is already in prison for life in Idaho. Yeah, but we're prosecuting here right now in the state of Arizona. So, I mean, is there avenues for her to appeal her conviction in Idaho? Of course there are. There are quite a few different, grounds for appeal, that are pretty obvious in the state of Idaho. She never waived, her right to a speedy trial. So that's her constitutional right to be, to have to face her accuser within a set period of time. But they looked at, okay, we started the case, and then we stopped it, sent you away for restorative care. So the state of Idaho, the reason why they're able to proceed through the trial is because they took that time that she was away and said that it starts here. All of this didn't happen. This starts here. So she'll file an appeal on just that. I'm sure if she can find somebody. Now Lori has no money, so whoever takes on her appeals process and actually goes forward with the entire thing is going to have to do it, for free. She won't be able to get anybody like the Innocence Project or anything like that on it. But let's just say she's convicted in Arizona. They give her another 20 years. That sentence will just sit there in case she is ever able to get out, and win some type of an appeal in Idaho. She's going to die in prison. Unfortunately, she's going to live, probably a decent life, behind bars as well as you can behind bars. Yeah, I didn't know how many weapons were actually registered to him, Mel. I haven't actually seen that part of it. I know he had, um, a couple. I didn't know he had 40, but Reichardt, good morning. How is Reichardt doing this morning? I hope you are doing well and staying safe out there, especially on, summertime with these idiots on the roadway. Or the state will have to pay for her defense. Well, the state already paid for the defense, Mel. The state does not have to pick up the bill for an appeal. That's optional in every state. You can find somebody who will do it pro bono. You can find somebody who will do it because they, another nonprofit will pick up the, part of the tab. But it's not necessary that the state actually pays for an appeals process. I don't know if that's the case for the state of Idaho, though. Right? So I want to make sure that's absolutely clear. I know in certain states, though, especially Iowa, Ohio, and Indiana, they don't pick up the bill for you to file an appeal. You have to do that and find somebody else. And there are a lot of attorneys out there that do appellate work. But I'm in northern Arizona today. Traffic not that bad up here. Well, that's good. Oh, you stay safe out there. Knowing Gory Lori, she will try and charm someone with her female wiles. Remember when she was going up for her bond hearing in Idaho, she told the other inmates and the guard, "We're going to see if all this is worth $1,000,000." Delphi and Kohlberg in for life. Delphi, Indiana. Germany and Libby, Delphi, Indiana. Kohlberg in Idaho, right? Another one in Idaho. The Idaho 4. I don't remember seeing Gayla around in a few. Anyone seen her lately? Yeah. Kitty Q. She was around last weekend. She's not here today. She's probably busy. Probably making her husband snickerdoodles or something. Can't remember if she was around last week. Yeah, she was. She was around Kitty Q. I hope she's doing well. She's probably just busy. Yeah. Poor Tammy. Tammy, Tylee, JJ, Charles, Joseph. Those are just the ones that we know of. I mean, did anybody else, who went to their religious practices, their study groups with Chad and Lori, did any of them kill their families? I don't know. Oh, great. Couldn't remember. Bird in hell, Chad. Bird, bird, bird. Burning ring of fire. Chad will get life plus, years. They'll probably run concurrently. There's Reichardt. Chad Daybell's case is still in the sentencing phase. I think it's like day 2 or day 3. Social Distortion does a great cover of Ring of Fire. Yes, Kitty Q. Speaking of Social Distortion, one of the first concerts I ever took my daughter to was to see Social Distortion. And they didn't hit as hard as they did, back musically back then as they did in the day, but it was still good. A great. It was a good concert. They put on a hell of a show. But that was one of the first concerts I ever took her to. The Social Distortion. Don't know if I'm ever going to be able to take my son to a concert because he has sensitivity to lights and sound, really bad. It's but maybe as he gets older, maybe it'll become less of an issue for him. But right now, he definitely lights and you have to think about a concert with flashing lights and stuff like that, and that loud of music. It would definitely be an issue for him. Are you a headbanger? Asked Rykar of Kitty Q. Well, Kitty Q definitely has, a large collection of music she likes or has listened to in the past. Cement Shoes is here, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, slipped in late. Well, good evening, good morning, I guess. Cement Shoes. I hope that everything is well where you are. I have an record. I have an entire collection of records behind me here. I have everything from Ellis Fitzgerald to blues, Can Heat, Muddy Waters. I've got R&B to punk. I got a lot of punk albums. I used to be on the outside of the mosh pit. Well, my one of my friends when I growing up, Cindy, she was in the band uh, Babes in Toyland. She was with the band I think for 4 years, and then she was with L7 for a year or so, and then she went out on her own. Did her own solo career. I was always in the mosh pit kicking ass. Right, Cart. So what did Rykart go listen to? Where they had a mosh pit? Was it Crocus? Who's that? Mudhoney? Or maybe it was Shout at the Devil. Slayer? I don't think I have any Slayer in here. I might in the house. Dead Kennedys? One of my favorite bands of all time. Babes in Toyland and L7 are great bands. Yeah, my friend Cindy was in Specula. Specula. My friend Cindy was in Babes in Toyland in L7 Cement Shoes, and then she went. I think she went solo after she was with L7. Love Slayer. Dead Kennedys are great. I've got Bedtime for Democracy. This one's never been opened. I have another copy of it that I listened to. Holiday in Cambodia. It's a 12-inch single. Plastic Surgery Disasters. Another 12-inch single. This one is another one of the same one. First edition, first pressing, never been opened. Dead Kennedys, Give Me Convenience. Never been opened. I have another one, obviously. And then I have multiple. This is the Spain version of In God We Trust. This is the UK version of In God We Trust. And this is the US version of In God We Trust. Tom Aarons from Slayer is an awesome dude. He's an awesome possum. Some of your favorites since 1993. I don't think I have any of it, at least not out here. I got Ozzy with Randy Rhoads, Black Sabbath, Thin Lizzy, Striper. Oh, I have Striper Reichart. It'd be down. Can't see it, but I'm pointing over here. It'd be down on this shelf. Striper. I have Striper, Quiet Riot, Metallica, Danzig, Ministry, and all those would be over here. They're on this side, bottom shelf. At the first part of that is all metal. I've been living on Mars. I have no idea who you're talking about, my friends. It's all right, Mel. So, Mel, what music do you listen to, or what was your favorite, musical artist growing up? I was a crazy teen. I would transition from Slayer to Striper, from God to Devil. Just different music. It is. It's all different music. I grew up in particularly my teen years. I grew up in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And I didn't live in Minneapolis. I lived in the suburbs, and I lived in St. Paul. But I would travel, and stay, in downtown Minneapolis as much as I could. There's a bar there. It's still there to this day. It's actually two bars that are on a corner. This one is called the First Avenue, and then this side is the 7th Street entry. And this the First Avenue side, you'd see a lot of like punk bands, metal bands like that. And when they would tour, and come to the Hubert H. Humphrey Dome in Minneapolis, a lot of them would come and play like side gigs there. Maybe music they were going to try out on, or have on their next album, and or maybe it was just a side project. Maybe the guitarist and the drummer had some music, and they had another friend who was a singer, and they'd come and show up there. So we used to see everyone from Anthrax to, members of the band Anthrax, not as Anthrax, but individuals from the band. Iron Maiden would, they would show up there, the whole band would, and they'd play, nobody knew they were going to be there, but they would just show up and they would play like maybe 2 or 3 songs. But that's where I saw Prince was in a punk bar in Minneapolis with Abylonia. They played in a punk bar, and you could have heard a freaking needle drop in that damn place. Like 70, 80, teenagers, were there for a punk show. And Prince shows up and Abylonia show up in all purple. I mean, everything. Besides their hair wasn't purple, but he had that, that Jerry curl, going on with his hair. But $3. Listen to a lot of rap and metal. I got tapes. I don't have a single rap album, Cement Shoes. Not one. All my rap is on cassette tapes. Right here behind me where I'm pointing. I'm from Western Europe, so enjoy the French pop music. Like Depeche Mode, Morrissey. That'd be more, your Western European, pop music. Before they became the band Oingo Boingo, they were, two of the four are from Europe. It would have been great to see. Yeah. But he would show up on the other side. So the punk bar was just a tiny little place. You can go there today. You can actually catch a Greyhound bus, go to Minneapolis, and step directly outside of the place, and then hurry your ass across the street because you're about to get mugged. It's not a really good, safe neighborhood. But the 7th Street entry side, they have stars painted all over the building of the different names. We're only about that big. But they have stars, all white stars with all the different names of the different bands and artists who played there over the years. There's also a documentary that you can watch on YouTube about it. Let's see, I got that's replacements. Where are rap? I got rap for Cement Shoes. I've got Ice Cube, Public Enemy, the Ghetto Boys. I got the Surfs. They're from New York. The Surfs. They were back when rappers Delight, Paradise. Some of the really early rap music from late 70s, early 80s. The Surfs. One of my brother's close friends owned a bar, Foo Bar in St. Louis, and they played a lot of good bands there. That'd be cool. Live Prince and Slayer concert in Minneapolis would have been awesome. I think one of the I know I don't think, but one of the best concerts, and I have seen well over 300 concerts. I lost track after 300. What the best, hands down, musically, was I saw Buddy Guy play live, and I was absolutely blown away. At that point in my life, and I was in my mid 20s, and I saw Buddy Guy play, and I was absolutely astonished, and I felt so bad for myself that I had never heard of who Buddy Guy was until that day. I was there to see George Clinton and the Funkadelics, and Buddy Guy was an opener. I was just like, where has this guy been my entire life? It was like watching a live version of Jimi Hendrix on the guitar and with actual good lyrics and actual singing, but on top of it all. But it was like mind blown. Prince getting ripped apart in a mosh pit would have been absolutely insane. Yeah, they put up there's a barrier that they used to have that came down that that kept the audience away from the stage, because in the punk bar people would stage dive off of the stage all the time, so they had to put up a barrier that, for safety reasons, but it also protected them from the crowd in case they got too rambunctious. But we used to, back in the 80s though, when I was there, going to that place all the time, we used to get everything from punk to metal to what we called Nazi punk. Yeah, there was a lot of that, and the owners and the promoters of the place, they didn't care who you are as long as you could put on a show and your music was good. So we would see the skinheads, with the shaved heads and the white, suspenders. They're not actually, they're just hanging down next to their pants. Black Doc Martens and rolled up, jeans. It was easy to tell them apart from everybody else. But I saw AC/DC in Memphis for the 21 Gun Salute tour. It was great. Kitty Q, I've seen AC/DC, I want to say 4 times, maybe 5. I got one of the shows that I went and saw was the one of the last times was it was on the Who Made Who album tour, and me and my friend, we tried all. I mean, it was everything we wanted. We wanted to get main floor tickets, and we wanted as close to the stage as possible. But we ended up getting like, I don't know, it was like 12th or 13th row, right off of the main aisle of the the stage. And we got there, so I'm at the aisle. My friend's next to me. There's an old man. I'm like in his 60s, right? And then 2 little kids that are maybe 10 or 12 that are next to him. And he gets out a pipe tobacco pipe, and he loaded it with weed, and he just started smoking it up, man. He was stoned as hell, and I'm like, dude, you're in charge of those 2 kids, man. I hope the hell you didn't drive here. But anyways, the show goes dark, and then the lights come on, and they're flashing from behind like the drum set area, and from the roof came down like a stage piece, and the whole stage itself made a flying V guitar, and Angus Young was right here where I could have reached out and touched him, and he played like the first 2 openings, songs right there, and we were just like. Now, if we would have been first row, we would never have been that close to him at all. But I've seen everyone. I mean, I've never seen Slayer or Specula or anybody. I've seen AC/DC, Quiet Riot quite a few times. Even on college tour, when I was in college, they came through town. Scorpions back in the day, a lot of them. Hanoi, saw them a couple of times. Angus Young was crazy looking with his tailor tie suit and shorts. Yeah. Well, I saw Van Halen at least 3 or 4 times. Oh, the good old days, though. Where I live now, only people ever play here live shows are their cover bands. Like the all women band, the version of Sabbath, Black Sabbath. But they're an all women group, or the AC/DC, tribute bands. We see them every once in a while, but very few, big acts come here. It's not like it, when I lived in Minneapolis. I mean, shit, the music scene there was just popping in the '80s, late '70s, '80s, '90s. Bang your head, rock the crazy dead. Yeah. Louisville, but I won't go downtown anymore. Too dangerous. Uh, I think one of the sketchiest concerts I ever went and saw was it was for Soundgarden. It was one of the sketchiest places I've ever been in my life. We were convinced that we were never going to get into the show and that we're all going to get murdered. And if we did make it out there, our car was going to be gone. We actually parked in one of those like lots where you pay by the hour and you put the money in the stupid little slot. And we were convinced we were going to come back and the wheels were going to be gone off the top, off the car, or something. But it was this little tiny place. It's called the Firehouse in Seattle, and it was that neighborhood has been sketched before those years, and it's always been, it still is to this day. I wouldn't want to be. You couldn't make me go down there. But and then there's a band that's it's called Black Happy. They're like a ska band, but we saw them that play. They played the week prior at the Firehouse. Good morning, Lemon Pie. The group ACDC, are they Australian? Mel, I do believe they are all from Australia, but I'm not 100% sure on that, to tell you the truth. Well, Reichard says yes. But if you ever want to listen to some interesting music, look it up on YouTube and see if you can find Black Happy, and the album Happy Dog Salad. Happy Dog Salad by Black Happy. They have a complete brass section to it, but it's um, and then there's the drums, guitars, vocals, but really interesting music. Black Happy. Yep. Surprised that they never caught on as much as other things did. They used to tour with like Sonic Youth. Because I've seen them at quite a few different college radio events. Black Happy and Sonic Youth back in the day. So I think they pretty much toured with each other. Different venues. Black Happy, Happy Dog Salad. Happy Dog Salad. I think twice before ordering that at a restaurant. It's funny if you look at the cover of the album. It's half of a pear, and then a cherry for the eye. That makes up the dog. Like it's not like real dog. I mean, it's just it's one of those things that Betty Crocker, and I have the book, by the way, the cookbook, on how to make birthday cakes, and fun food for your kids. I think that book by Betty Crocker came out in like 70s. There's some bizarre looking shit in there, and like how to make a birthday cake of anything, a clown, and everything is just a regular cake, and then you use licorice and gumdrops and stuff like that to make the designs on the top of it. I try to avoid old devil teenage metal bands now because I'll go crazy out on the highway. Try to avoid old devil teenage metal bands. I think it's funny when you say back in the day. For me, I relate to my youth, to the age of dinosaurs. Back in the day. I go through, peaks, and what I listen to, right, Cart? I don't avoid any music. I mean, lately I've been on a hell of a kick of listening to the Descendants. Um, uh, their music from my youth, and the older Replacements. They're but for some reason, and I'll go through like I'll listen to them a lot, and then I'll listen to something completely different from what it was before. But I don't avoid any music. Oh, it's a real thing, huh? Music does influence you. My experience and opinion. It does. I mean, like they have, what they call walk-on music, for athletes. Whenever like someone's coming up to bat, they might play a song or something. That kind of gets them in that hype mode, or gets them focused. I've got music that I play every single time. Like every morning on my record player here, I always listen to the same song every morning. And then before I go golf, I always listen to the same two songs before I golf, and then I listen to nothing after that. I remember the Monkees. Hey, hey, we're the Monkees. We're just monkeying around. Friendly Dog Salad. When I looked up the album, that might be the what they called it later on. I mean, there are different variations of the album, but Friendly Dog Salad, Happy Dog Salad, either one. I the I don't know if you can find a complete track listing for it, but there's one song that's called Douglasville, Dougsville, Dougsville or Douglasville. It's one of the two that Happy Dog Salad played. I saw them live at the Lower Granite Dam. Now, this hippie, and this was fun. So we had to hike up this long zigzagging trail to the top of a hill, a very long walk, and it was raining, so they nicknamed the concert Mudstock after that. But in the back was the dam at night, so you saw the river and the lights from the dam, the Lower Granite Dam, in the background. And we watched it, and then the next year they moved it to Moscow, where the 4 college students were murdered, and we went there. But this was the first concert they called Mudstock. That was outside of Pullman, Washington, and then they had Mudstock, and they called it Mudstock 2 in northern Idaho, at the Moscow the next year. But they had have a song called Dougsville or Douglasville that I have never been able to find on any other albums, but every time I've seen them play, they've always played it. And it starts off with the guy who's playing with the trombone with the like the plunger thing on the end of it to muffle it. and it's like 2 minutes of that, and then the song starts with the guy, um, singing, and then the rest of the band slowly joins in. But it's called Dougsville or Douglasville. But I don't know which version of the album it's on. Great song though. I love the Monkees. They had a TV show too. Yeah, they did. They're just monkeying around. I got that in my head now. It's a cute salad. LOL. My mom bought me their 45s. Wasn't into the Beatles. I've got I've got boxes of 45s around here somewhere. I don't know where I put them. Oh, they're back there on that shelf. I've got two hard cases full of 45s. Golf, knife, blood, golf hole, golfer, a knife, and blood. Okay. Gianna Marie. Well, you're late, and I'm about to end the stream, actually. I do have to take off here. Mom bought me 45, so I got a lot of 45s. I have some Beatles 45s that are on Apple Records. I got some of those. I got some Elvis and and other ones, and then I have um, rock 45s. I have down here. I'm pointing over there and down on this shelf. I have Debbie Gibson in there, and I have all four of Debbie Gibson's 45 singles. And there's one song on the A side, B side of all four of those singles are empty. There's no B side recording on any of those singles. I have all four of them. I never liked her music, and believe me, to this day, I have no idea why I have Debbie Gibson still in this collection, but I have them all, and they're all in the record, and everything is in kind of like this. These are protective slips. So the record is in it, and then I have all four of the 45s along with it. And this is Tolkien, by the way. But they're all in the thing down there. I actually own a live recording of Elvis Presley's Vegas concert. There you go. Elvis before the end. Debbie Gibson that had her perfume when you were a kid, says Kitty Q. Yep. I've got Donnie and Marie Osmond. Don't forget about the Osmonds. My godparents were such big fans of the Osmonds and the Osmonds brother, the Osmonds, and then their TV show that they actually named both of their kids. The boy is Donnie, and Marie is their daughter. They named their kids after Donnie and Marie. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I have to take off. I want to thank everybody for hanging out and chatting with me this morning. And I hope that you all have a terrific day. Now, don't forget, tomorrow, trivia. Robert Lee Yates. Here's the answers. Can't see him. Robert Lee Yates is tomorrow night's trivia. So, and I hope everyone has a terrific day. And thank you again. Stay safe out there if I don't see you before then. Bye, everyone.